whatever you wind up doing is exactly what you should be doing.
And I have not behaved one single day of my life. Not one day of my life have I behaved, and I am fine.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're gonna hurt some people.
Whose car are we gonna take?
All right. Happy Friday. Thank you for joining us on the Nikki Medoro Show. Let's get that music going, shall we? It is a Friday. I appreciate you all. I see actually, and it was surprised me. I was right about to go live and a guest popped in and I was like, who am I? That's right. You can join the Nikki Medoro Show. So if you look right below this screen that you're looking at right there, under the show notes, click more. Perhaps somebody was asking yesterday. I'm going to see more. It outlines what we're talking about on today's show. There's a link, and you just click into it. Now, guest who is waiting, I will get to you in a little bit, so hopefully you can... Oh, they left. But you can come back. I would love for anybody that wants to, maybe they got a little shy as I started the show. Anybody can join. Anybody can join the show and talk about what we're talking about. All I asked and what I was going to tell the guest was, include your name and what you want to talk about. Because I know the show goes and some of you join as it's going and maybe you're a couple beats behind. So just let me know and we can go back to you. But this is the Nikki Medoro Show live starting at noon Pacific. Please click that thumbs up button to show support of the show. It helps us out. It expands our reach on YouTube, which we really do appreciate. It is a gorgeous Friday. We have a great show coming up. But please support the show as much as you can. We are completely crowd-funded. And so what that means is to keep the show on, I need, and Kim as well, when she joins the show from Mark Thompson's, that it's you that financially support the show. So we really appreciate all the help. One way that you can do this is through the Super Chat. And so you just look for the $ under the live chat box. I love my community that comes each and every day to watch the show live. And I know so many of you watch it on replay, but you can do it live or you can do it during the replay. Just donate any amount that you want to just by clicking that $. It'll be a super thanks, super comment. If you have a comment, we'll read it during the show as well. And then the biggest and honestly the most consistent way that we could depend on the financial support of our fans is by becoming a monthly Patreon subscriber. And you decide how much you want to pay us each and every month, how much you can afford. You know, maybe you break it down per show or per month, whatever you can afford, and then you become a Medorable. So just go to thenikkimedoroshow.com, thenikkimedoroshow.com, and the link to our Patreon is there. Our PayPal email is up there, so there's a direct link. thenikkimedoroshow@gmail.com is our email. There's also links to our merchandise shop, which is thenikkimedoroshop.com. And we have a great time, and we really want to keep this show going. And I just appreciate everybody that's here each and every day. But again, we're trying something new by allowing you guys to join the show, kind of similar to how it was on traditional radio. And you can click the link. You'll be put in as a guest in our virtual green room, and we're going to get to you. Now, I know that some of you might be shy. You don't have to turn your camera on. You don't even have to use your real name. I would like, the only thing I really want, in all honesty, something to call you. It could be, one of the names you guys use in the chat, but I would love to know what you want to weigh in on. So just, a couple words, just what you want to weigh on, and that'll be that. And so if you want to, just click the link because we have a great show coming up. So there's like a ton of stories about things being blocked, and some things suck, like the ERA, the Equal Rights Amendment. And some things are like, what? That actually happened? Like what happened in South Carolina. So let's start with the ERA. Now, I don't know if it's going to surprise anyone, but Senate Republicans blocked a measure that would have allowed the Equal Rights Amendment, the ERA, to be added to the Constitution. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, these misogynistic Republicans just don't want to give women equal rights. Well, obviously, I think everybody but Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins, every Senate GOP member, voted against it. So obviously some women did as well, which It never surprises me when women vote against their own interests, but it is what it is. So here's the thing, though. This is the excuse, and I'm going to put that in quotes because it is an excuse that Republicans are giving on why they don't want to pass the ERA. Now, it did pass in 1972 after being proposed in 1923. Constitutional amendments under U.S. law must be ratified by 3/4 of all state legislatures, 38 states. In 2020, Virginia officially became the 38th state to ratify the ERA. But here's the kicker. There was a deadline, and it was the year 1982. That was the deadline to ratify the amendment that had passed. So you're thinking to yourself, let's just ignore that deadline. I mean, we can do this. It's not written in stone. I mean, we are literally the body that could change that rule. But Republicans don't want to. Now, the Senate resolution would have removed the deadline so the ERA could become the 28th Amendment. Murkowski and Maryland Democrat Ben Cardin co-sponsored that resolution. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer argued this week that it was needed, obviously following many things, such as the overturning of Roe v. Wade. But no, Republicans have said no. The deadline has passed, and so it should not pass as written. Now, there has been one suggestion given by none other than the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg that Republicans love to point to. Now, the late justice had said, I do think the ERA should pass, but it should be rewritten since the deadline has passed, basically in a nutshell. That's not the direct quote. But it just seems to me it's jumping through hoops to give women the rights that they deserve. Now, the excuses some Republicans will also give, besides the whole deadline mess, is why do we need it? You have protections. Pat on head. You have protections, all sorts of protections. Why do you need the ERA? Well, what's the harm? What would be so bad about doing it? So it's extremely frustrating. It's extremely frustrating that something that we should all be able to agree on, that women get the same rights as men in this world, still can't get done. I had mentioned yesterday, my good friend here, Matthew McConaughey, because you guys know that I'm a huge fan of him. I had mentioned yesterday that I had listened in on the highlights of this Art of Living event that he had held. It was online. It was free. Anybody could have listened. You can listen to the replay. And one of the questions that has come up is, why did he want to do this? And I'm not trying to promote a Matthew McConaughey thing, but this stuck out to me as I'm talking about the ERA. And the reason that Matthew McConaughey said that he wanted to do it is because he sees so much division in this country over things that we're not really divided about. And it's politics. It's, everyone getting in their kind of cultish camps. And it really resonated with me because on one hand, I do this show and I know that I obviously voice my displeasure and I disagree with many things that happen in Washington and with other political parties and with other people that see the world a different way than I do. But I want to try. And I think that we all need to try to urge those that make decisions, like in Washington, D.C., to do the things that we all agree on, to stop accepting what I consider excuses on their decision not to support something like the ERA. Oh, well, there was a deadline. I mean, screw the deadline. It's not necessary. It's not necessary at all. So it's frustrating. It didn't pass again. I don't know when it will. I really, really don't. But we do live in a time where, and maybe it's our bubble here in the Bay Area, and I know many of you live in other parts of the country and the world, so hello. I know I live in a bubble, living in the Bay Area. I do. I like my bubble. It's hard for me to see the world in a way that makes other things make sense. For instance, I don't understand living in a world where you can justify not passing the ERA. I don't understand living in a world where, for instance, it makes sense to remove romance novels from school libraries. Did you hear about this? Nora Roberts. She's a romance author. She's been around forever. Her books are being banned in Florida. And she's shocked by it, of course. 8 of her books were removed from school library shelves in Martin County, Florida, following a complaint. And I'm emphasizing the A because it sounds like it was one. One person complained, 8 books removed from library shelves. Nora Roberts told the Washington Post, quote, "All of it is shocking. If you don't want your teenager," and again, teenagers, "reading this book, that's your right as a mom. And good luck with that. But you don't have the right to say nobody's kid can read this book." Now, of course, I love this. I love the name of groups that just ooze hypocrisy. A co-founder of book banning activist groups, Moms for Liberty, told CBS this morning that books containing incest, pedophilia, rape, or pornography should be banned from schools. Other books, Judy Blume, who is no stranger to book banning, Toni Morrison, The Bluest Eye, and one of my favorite authors, James Patterson. There was a study by the American Library Association. It found nearly 1,300 attempts to ban books across the country last year. Almost 2,600 titles were impacted. That's nearly twice as many in 2021. So this activist, Julie Marshall, in Martin County, she's part of Moms for Liberty. Just keep saying that word because they're literally taking them away, but whatever. She said Roberts' books are inherently not appropriate for schools because they're romance novels. She says, "I'm surprised they wouldn't want," oh, this is what Roberts says. I love this. Nora Roberts, "I'm surprised that they would not want teenagers to read about healthy relationships that are monogamous, consensual, healthy, and end up in marriage. You would think that would be fine. What is so wrong about teenagers reading romance novels? I just don't get it. I used to read, the the supermarket. Remember the supermarket little end of the aisles book stand they'd have with all the kind of trashy novels with like Fabio on the cover. I'm not a huge romance person. Oh, who is it? I used to read a lot of his books. Nick something. I'm sorry, I'm totally brain farting. I wasn't a huge Nora Roberts reader, but I like romance novels. I love James Patterson, though. He's kind of a murder mystery type of author. When you're a teenager, you love romance novels. That's, it just makes sense. Are they not supposed to read? Honestly, Romeo and Juliet? It's ridiculous, but it's frightening. It's frightening how many people simply by complaining get their way. I just don't get it. Let's go to some of the comments. Let's see here. Hold on. Lori says, so any books that include things that happen in real life should be banned? Fairy tale lives only, I guess. Yep. And Kevin, you're making an excellent point. It'll just make kids curious about the banned books and increase their sales. I say this all of the time. You're just drawing attention to the one thing that you don't want your kids to see, apparently. It's like Nipplegate all over again. I loved Nipplegate. I love using Nipplegate as an example because I love to say the word Nipplegate. I think more kids saw Janet Jackson's nipples because their parents were so upset about it than would have ever seen it if they would have just let it go. It's like they were obsessed. Let's welcome Kim McAllister to the show, and I'm talking to him about Nora Roberts.
I was listening. Yeah.
I mean, did you like romance novels? Do you read romance novels?
Okay, so I remember, well, first of all, I'm a huge fan of the romance genre,
Yes.
and I love me a good romance, and they're full of like sexy sex stuff.
Yeah, but what?
sometimes,
It's
right?
words, Kim. It's words. It's your imagination that gets
Just
kind of
saying.
filthy. You know what I'm saying?
But there was a book when I was a teen, or like I don't know, I probably was too young to be reading it, but there was this book called Forever by Judy Blume.
Yes.
And it had a little bit of racy stuff going
Oh.
on. And I remember sneaking it. Like somehow I got a hold of the book. I think my mom had it maybe. And I found it and I read it. And I was sneaking it. She didn't know I had read it. Probably like one of the best books at that point in my life. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. But it
Right?
had some pretty racy scenes in it. So I don't know. I mean, I don't have a problem with that.
How would
It's fine.
you feel, for instance, if your daughter picked up
Yeah.
that book and was reading it? Would you feel uncomfortable?
So given everything that I've talked about with her, the sex conversations that we've had, just kind of trying to educate and make it okay for her to talk to me and feel comfortable talking to me about some things,
Right?
I would say she knows a lot more at her age than I knew at my age. So I would probably feel pretty
Okay.
comfortable. Yeah.
And I love that you make that point because we're living in a digital age where, okay, you may not be reading Judy Blume's Forever, but you have the literal internet in the palm of your hand. And I would love it if we could just get a peek inside these kids' phones whose parents are protesting all these books to see what they really see. And the thing that upsets me about the whole thing is these parents are like parental rights, parental rights, parental rights. Well, if you're so into parental rights, watch your own friggin' kid. Watch your child. Tell them they're not allowed to read Judy Blume or Nora Roberts or whatever.
Right.
Do that for your kid. But this idea that like, well, if my kid can't read it, I don't even want them to be in the same building as this book is ridiculous. And it's literally going to make your kid want to read that book even more. Terabyte MC says reading romance novels spiced up my relationship with my
That's
spouse. Right. I mean, you can get pretty hot and heavy in these books.
Yeah.
Books are amazing.
Like,
I would say
that's a new idea. All right.
But the great thing about books, and honestly, the reason why I love radio, and not to knock what we do here visually, and it's not like we do television news or anything, but your imagination.
Yeah.
You know, simply from words or hearing a story like through the radio is way more vivid, more vivid. And so let kids read books and let their minds go there. I would much rather have my kid read a romance novel than and I'm not going to ban these books, but like a murder mystery, perhaps that might scare them. Although I love murder mysteries. I don't think you should ban books. I really just don't. I feel like it's so stupid to do that.
I mean, I do think that certain books are meant for certain ages, right? I mean, I'm not going to, show, I don't know, some violent sexual book to my 9-year-old.
Well, I mean, what 9-year-old wants to read that? Exactly. I mean, yes, age appropriate.
Right.
But again,
and I think the problem that comes in is everybody has a different idea of what age appropriate may be, or what's okay for some, what's okay for whatever. I'm reminded by this text from Susan. I'm sure kids today, she said, and kind of to your point, Nikki, have seen a ton of stuff in movies or on their computer versus books. Yeah. Probably most parents aren't even aware, to which I say, check the history. Check your kid's internet search history and then talk about what it is they're looking at. I think a lot of parents don't know the podcast kids are watching. They go down these internet rabbit holes. You have no idea that they're watching Andrew Tate or whatever it may be.
Right.
You've got to know, and if they're, looking at stuff that it's a little racy and you're like, oh, they're looking at naked ladies. I'll tell you this. My 9-year-old searched for the word Vigina, Virginia, like Virginia, is looking up vagina. Because that's what we call it. Like it's the real word, right? for vagina.
So wait, so he put in what he was trying to spell Virginia.
He didn't know how to spell it.
Popped up.
Yes. And luckily it was only
I make that mistake all the time.
Like a clinical picture of genital warts or something. I don't know. I'm like, that's not what you really want to see. But it was like a close-up, like you couldn't see anything because we looked at what he was looking at. Yeah, I'm like,
there's a close-up picture of it?
A close-up picture of like a genital disease, a venereal disease. Yeah.
That's awful.
I'm like, that's not
scare your poor son. Never want to go anywhere near it.
First of all, that's not a Virginia.
Yes, that is
we're
not.
Looking at your history every day, no matter what, and you're not allowed to use that in private anymore. You broke the rules.
Exactly.
But I think it's important, like, you look at the history and you see what kids are looking at and what they're curious about. And not only can you then tell if they're going down the wrong path, but also then it opens up that conversation for, we need to talk about this.
Yes.
So if they're reading those novels, fine, you read it too, and then let's talk about this. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, it's
Virginia.
It's allowing kids to not be hindered by what their parents are afraid of. It seems like these moms for liberty, they're so involved in their kids' lives. If you're so involved, why are you so worried? Right. What are you so worried about? I mean, if you're raising your kids with values that you love to push on other people, what are you so worried about? And it's this, I want my kids raised one way and I want the entire world raised the exact same way. And that's dangerous. John Slade writes in, I remember back in the mid 80s, there was a TV station in the Bay Area called Select TV that was porno and the picture was scrambled, but you could sometimes make out things. I remember my parents used to have that cable box, the AB cable box. And like, it was the same thing. We didn't pay for Playboy, but if you had went to the channel, you can kind of see a boob here and there, and then Debbie says, I can't quote this study, but years ago I read that almost 100% of 15-year-old boys have seen porn on the phone or the computer. Not sure why girls weren't included, but I'm sure it's pretty high too. Girls look at porn.
Yeah.
They look at porn.
They're curious. Everyone's curious.
Everyone's curious. And that's the thing. The curiosity is what I think the parents are trying to shield their kids from. It. You can't. Kids are curious. They're going to want to, and especially if you raise a ruckus about something. Please, if I tell my kids, okay, you cannot see the show, that is the number one thing they're going to want to go see or ask somebody about.
Right. Yeah.
And those 976 numbers. I know a kid who ran up a $300 phone bill. Oh my God. Yeah. It's just ridiculous. I hope that this doesn't spread, but who knows? We have to become louder. We have to continue to speak for the majority because we're in the majority. I really do truly believe that most Americans don't understand what this whole book banning thing is about. But I think that the loud minority overtakes the conversation. But I'm encouraged, and I'm encouraged by this. The South Carolina State Senate. Okay, now I'm going to say abortion bill in South Carolina, and you think the story is going to go one way, and it doesn't. For the third time, has rejected a near total abortion ban after the chamber's 5 female lawmakers led a multi-day filibuster against the bill. I want to show you this video. And I want you to keep in mind, this is a Republican woman that is speaking right now, okay, in South Carolina.
And each and every
let me start it over. Hold on. Let me start it over.
Have always been, each and every one of them, about control. It's always about control, plain and simple. And in the Senate, the males all have control. We, the women, have not asked for, as the senator from Orangeburg pointed out yesterday, nor do we want your protection. We don't need it. We don't need it. There is not a single thing that I can do when women such as me are insulted except to make sure that you get an earful. And you need to blame this earful on following that leader blindly off the cliff for the third time on abortion. And I'm sure you're getting an earful, if you're being honest, from your wives, from your children, from your grandchildren. You cannot tell me that you are not. I know you are.
I love that. I love that. She is a Republican woman. Her name is Republican South Carolina State Senator Sandy Senn, S-E-N-N. And she's like, no, we don't need you to do this. Now, their law is 22 weeks, which is very similar to Roe v. Wade.
Yeah.
And they wanted to make it, for the third time, a near total abortion ban, similar to other places. We don't need you, government, making the decision for us. And we have to continue to raise our voices in whatever way we can. And the fact that a Republican woman from South Carolina is saying this to her colleagues, the fact that 5 women in the state legislature in South Carolina did a multi-day filibuster to block this near total abortion ban gives me hope. It gives me hope. But what doesn't, and I saw the story and I wanted to touch on it yesterday and I did not have time. And then I got sent it. I think 3 different people sent me this story. And I apologize, Kim, if you've had it in your news, but I had to weigh in. Amanda Zarowski. Amanda Zarowski is from Texas. And she testified about the abortion access. She's the lead plaintiff in the emergency abortion access lawsuit against the state of Texas. She was sharing her story, and I want to play you the sound of it because this is what's going to happen to more and more people. Remember what we said when Roe v. Wade got overturned. Women will die.
Yeah.
Women will die.
And I wanted to address my senators, Cruz and Cornyn, who neither of whom regrettably are in the room right now. But I would like for them to know that what happened to me, I think most people in this room would agree, was horrific. But it's a direct result of the policies that they support. I nearly died on their watch. And furthermore, as a result of what happened to me, I may have been robbed of the opportunity to have children in the future. And it's because of the policies that they support. What happened to me was horrible, but I am one of many. And quite frankly, I'm lucky. I'm lucky that I have a husband that could take me to the hospital. I don't have other children that I had to worry about finding health care for. I have a job that was understanding that allowed me to grieve for 3 days as I waited to almost die. What about all of the women that don't have those same opportunities, that don't have access to health care, that don't have health insurance, that don't have a partner? What about them?
So what happened to this woman was she basically had to be almost at death before the doctors in her state would help her. She was having complications from a pregnancy. The baby would not survive. The doctors told her so. But because fetal cardiac activity could still be detected, they would not help her. She eventually developed sepsis. The doctor had to induce labor. She then gave birth, and the baby died. This apparently is more humane.
No.
Allowing a woman, her doctor, and her family to make that decision. And these men, and I'm going to say men because we're talking about Cornyn and Cruz here and others like them, don't understand it.
And don't care.
And they don't care. But I would love to quiz them on what kind of complications women can have from pregnancies while still detecting a fetal heartbeat. I would like them to even explain, and I might be wrong and I'm just assuming here, but I would doubt that Ted Cruz even understands, the stages of pregnancy from the egg to the sperm to everything else. I feel like some of these men think that the sperm swims down, kisses the eggs, God blesses it, and then a baby pops out. It is sad and scary that people that are uneducated about a woman's body and pregnancy are making decisions for every woman in America. I hope and pray that in the next election, Republicans are slapped down for this overstepping of trying to take away, now, not even just overturning Roe v. Wade, but taking away states' rights on how they want to deal with abortion. Again, the loud minority is taking away the majority's rights. It's sad and it's scary, and we have to stay vocal about it. We can't let up. You know, I think I was really, really naive about the overturning of Roe v. Wade. I really do. I think that, you know, from Kavanaugh to Coney Barrett, I was just like, you know, of course it's not. It's the law of the land. It's the law of the land. I kind of pinned my hopes on that. I don't pin my hopes on things like that anymore. There's a George Carlin saying, and I'll paraphrase basically, that there are no rights in this country. There are privileges that can be taken away. And we saw that with Roe v. Wade.
I mean, didn't you think, oh, it's, you know, 2023. There's no way.
There's no way.
I mean, all the studies show that even Catholics are pro-choice. There's just the majority of them. There's no way that they're not going to do that to us. They couldn't possibly. That's just out of thought, out of mind. No.
It's insane, but
here we are.
Here we are. Exactly. All right. Coming up, Kim's news. I got a couple food stories, but first I will of course have to give you, I have it right over there. It's a mess. It's a total mess. I was saying yesterday that for my Friday food segment, I was going to try to recreate the cheese-filled coffee crumb cake from Entenmann's that has been discontinued terribly. It should never have been. I'm starting a protest.
Nailed it or failed it?
Oh my God, Kim. I don't think that it could have gone any more wrong. And it's all like, I posted this that I'm a moron, blah, blah. And somebody posted like, you know, you should really speak kindly about yourself. And you're absolutely correct. But I made so many missteps from the very beginning to the middle to the end that I have not tasted it. I will taste this live with you. I have no idea if it tastes good. I'll just preface by saying this. It is not what I wanted. And it's all my fault.
You know, sometimes the things that look the worst taste the best. I'm just saying.
I just don't know how I made so many mistakes, like literally from the beginning. But I will explain my story. You guys let me know. Also, in this food segment, dogs eating outside. So the FDA has said that dogs can join owners for outdoor dining. I'd love to hear do you like eating around animals? Like at the restaurant, outdoors, not inside. Okay, so let's keep it, in the realm of reality here. Do you have any problem of it? Do you know any great dog-friendly restaurants, or do you avoid them like the plague? And then when it comes to food and the honor system, one Maine restaurant, M-A-I-N-E, Maine restaurant, is on the losing end of it. So we'll talk about that as well. But before we do any of that, you guys, please click the thumbs up button to show your support of the show. It's right there at the bottom of your screen. Just click it once. Very simple, very easy to do. Even if you're watching on replay, we absolutely love it. The super chat is live. Thank you so much to some people that have already donated. William, a $20 donation.
Thank you.
For you. Mwah. And of course, Full of Joy with a $20 super sticker. Full of Joy. I'm full of joy now. Thank you so much for the super sticker, you guys. So just look for the $sign underneath the live chat box, and you can donate any amount that you want to. And then, of course, please join the Medorable Club and become a monthly Patreon subscriber. You could find the link to our Patreon and everything else, PayPal, the merch shop, at thenikkimedoroshow.com. That's thenikkimedoroshow.com. All right. I'm going to go over there. I'm going to get my big old mistake of a coffee crumb cake. I'm going to try it live. I'm going to share the story. I got some pictures. It's worse than I thought it was ever going to be. But I'll have that story right after Kim's news on the Nikki Medoro Show.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
On the Nikki Medoro Show, indeed, I am Kim McAllister. And let's start with Yosemite, because we've got some problems. A popular destination here in California being closed tonight because of possible flooding. The National Park Service says most of Yosemite Valley will be closed from 10 this evening through at least Wednesday of next week because of expected flooding. The Merced River in the Yosemite National Park is expected to reach flood stage this weekend, and a Park Service alert says flooded roads and infrastructure will make it unsafe for visitors in Yosemite Valley. President Biden is commuting the sentences of 31 nonviolent drug offenders. The move is part of a broader effort by the Biden administration to improve rehab programs in jails and in prisons. Those receiving commuted sentences are all currently on home confinement. The head of the Antioch Police Department is now responding to an investigation of its department's officers. Police Chief Stephen Ford spoke with NBC Bay Area, and he says he's actually pretty upset.
Or not, I hope that anyone could see that those sentiments and those statements are completely, inappropriate and have no place in this society.
Yeah, completely inappropriate statements made by officers. He said they have no place in this society. A little low. The officers involved were put on administrative leave. The text messages show police officers dehumanizing criminals and making racist statements about them. Chief Ford says the messages were sent before he became the police chief there in Antioch in the East Bay. There's another round of help coming for victims in the Pajaro area. That is right near Watsonville. Remember this? During the storms in the winter, we had some serious flooding. Levee broke. The community of Pajaro completely flooded out. Well, local organizations gathered $1 million worth of household items to donate to these people who are still cleaning up and trying to get their lives back together. That includes more than 500 beds and items for bathrooms and kitchens. Most families lost everything when this levee broke last month and caused massive flooding, leaving entire neighborhoods underwater. A free store is being set up in the next few weeks for people to, quote, shop, but free shop, right, for what they need there. $1 million worth of free items. So nice, because that community absolutely devastated. Major League Baseball headed to Mexico this weekend. Mexico City. The San Francisco Giants and the San Diego Padres will play a 2-game series at Alfredo Harp Helu Stadium, and that starts tomorrow. This will be the first time regular season games will be played in Mexico City instead of just an exhibition game. So that's kind of interesting. I'm Kim McAllister on the Nikki Medoro Show. Yeah, that's right.
I'm coming back. There we are.
I got extra stories. Are you still getting your coffee cake ready?
I am here. Yes, I was getting my coffee cake ready. Okay, thanks for joining us on the Nikki Medoro Show. Again, click that thumbs up button. We love it. We appreciate it. So this is my favorite segment of the show, which is the Friday food segment. All of you know, I've made it abundantly clear, I don't think I can complain about it anymore, that I love the Entenmann's cheese-filled crumb coffee cake. Okay. If you go into the store, there's Entenmann's products. This is an Entenmann's product, but it has been discontinued. I've searched for it, and so many of you sent me recipes. A lot of you sent me recipes. I looked for recipes online. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to try one of these recipes. I'm going to try it. So I went to some of the websites that some of you sent me to. And what I like to do and I don't know, Kim, if you do this, but when I try a new recipe, I read the comments, because one, sometimes they give you great tips or things to watch out for, and then they give you reviews, right? Yeah. I will say hands down 100% of the emails that you guys sent me either had no comments, so I was kind of iffy about it, or it was like, this does not taste like the Entenmann's cheese-filled coffee crumb cake at all. And I was like, ugh. So I Googled, and I'm Googling yesterday. Now, mind you, I'm setting this up because I read a lot of recipes yesterday to try to choose the one that I was going to try. Okay. That was my first mistake. I think that my mind got a little garbled and confused and mixing up of recipes. So, for instance, one of the recipes that I was reading seemed a little complicated. They're like, oh, I got to get yeast. I got to let it sit. I got to punch it. I got to roll it out. Also, mind you, I don't have like a dough stand mixer paddle thing. You know what I mean? I don't have I'm doing this all by hand, which is fine because there was a world before, stand mixers. I was like, I could do it by hand, but I was like, God, the whole yeast and dough thing is kind of dissuading me from wanting to do this. Then finally, I find a recipe that doesn't require any of that.
Okay.
Reviews. This is just like the coffee cake. I was like, done, hands down, I'm going to do that one. So I write out the entire recipe. I have it right here. Write out the whole recipe. I'm like, oh, I only needed to buy, thank God, 1, 2, 3, 5 things. And technically I only got 4 because I was like, you know what? I don't need the powdered sugar. That stuff falls off anyway. I don't even need to get it. And if I really wanted it, I could grind up my own sugar and make my own powdered sugar. So I go to the store. I get all the things. I start making it. Now, I have some pictures. Hold on. Did I pull the pictures? Okay. So, oh no, they didn't work. Okay. So, here's the list of the ingredients that I find. Okay. So this is all, I laid it out. I took a picture of it. These are the ingredients that I have. Now I want you to look closely at this picture because this is the first clue that I've royally messed up. Okay. If you see it, just shout it out. Okay.
Is it sea salt?
No, it's not that. Okay. So that's the list of ingredients. I had it all laid out. I took a picture. Now I wasn't going to do a whole video of it because it was a lot of steps. And I was like, ain't no one have time for that. So I start off first with the topping, right? The crumble topping. Now, my first, it's not going to be exactly like it, is I did not have a large enough food processor to process the large amount of crumble this recipe called for. I'm going to read you. Oh, where is it? Oh, I don't have it. Okay. The topping recipe called for 2 cups of dark brown sugar packed and 3 cups of flour.
Okay.
This is the bowl of topping after I had put it on said coffee crumb cake. This is the bag. Let me put it next to my head of leftover.
Wow.
Crumble. I have no idea why I have 5 pounds of just this powder. I didn't want to throw it away. I was hoping somebody knows what to do with extra crumble because
you're going to have to make the coffee cake again.
Okay, so I start making it. I move on. Even though I look at this crumble, I'm like, that's a hell of a lot of crumble. I don't know how I'm going to, I can't possibly fit on all that. The other problem is that pan. This is all me. This is another mistake that I make. So when I go, I'm such an idiot. So when I go to the store, it calls for a 9x11 pan. Well, they don't have a 9x11. It's either a 9x13 or an 11x13. It's a little too big. But I found a smaller one. I was like, I just won't put as much of the dough in it. It'll be fine. Okay. So that was another mistake that I make. So I started making all this stuff. Then halfway through, this is what the recipe calls for. It says, combine the flour, the baking powder, baking soda, salt, whisk to combine. So I do that. I have the bowl. In the bowl of the stand mixer, which I don't have, add the softened butter, whip until light. My dumbass puts the butter in the flour mixture and I start whipping it around. And I'm like, what the hell do they mean by light? Light color? Light what? And then all of a sudden I realized that I'm supposed to have 2 separate bowls instead of 1. And remember how I said yesterday I could totally follow directions? Yeah, I was failing.
No.
But you have plenty of flour. Start over. Okay. And I had plenty of butter. So I start over. I'm like, I'm going to make this. I'm going to make it right. I'm going to really try. So I do it. I get it all mixed together. And I pour it into the pan. And that, my friend, is when I notice where I've gone completely wrong. Now, again, what is missing in this picture, Kim? And remember what I'm making. What am I making?
Coffee crumble cake.
That's not it. What's the entire title, Kim?
Cream. There's cream in there.
There's cheese.
Oh,
There's
cheese.
no
Yeah.
cheese.
Cream cheese or whatever, right?
I did not follow a recipe for a cheese-filled coffee cake. I'm following a recipe for a regular friggin' coffee cake that I can already buy in the store. I could buy the Entenmann's coffee cake. So I'm sitting there with the pan and it has all of this dough in it. And I'm like, well, this is disappointing. But now I'm like, okay, screw it. This will be a great story for the show. I'll just make it and we'll see how it turns out. So I smush as much of this stupid crumble on top of the damn cake as I can because I have so much of it. Then I throw it in the oven and almost instantaneously I start smelling burning because this is happening. Watch closely.
Oh my God.
It's dripping. I've overfilled it, even though I didn't put all of it in it. I think it was too much. So now it's spilling and burning on the bottom of my oven. I was like, screw it. I'm leaving it in there. It could smoke to high heaven for all I care. We're going to figure this out. So here it is. It looks a little toasty on top. And I have it here. I've not tasted it.
This is the moment.
This is the moment. Here it is. I'm proving to you.
This is
I
the
did not cut it. It smells. I mean, I don't know. So my son, I love my son. He's like, well, just cut from the middle. It's like the end. So that's what I'm going to do. And I don't even know if it was cooked all the way. I mean, I did it for the amount of time. And it's like, put a fork in it. I'm like, I'm not even going to try. I'm just going to. Well, all right. It has a lot of crumble on it. A lot. Oh, I'm going to make a huge sugary mess.
What does it look like inside? Show me the inside.
Well, it's like,
show me the gooey center.
There's no gooey center. There's no gooey center. This is dry as F. Hold on. I got to use my hands for this. Okay. Well, here we go.
Yeah, I don't see any cheese in there. Is there cheese in there?
There's no cheese. I didn't have any cheese. I literally, my idiotic mind, who's obsessed with the cheese filled, never noticed that I never bought any cream cheese. And the reason why there was no yeast is because I never made the pastry. The cheese-filled coffee cake is a pastry filled with cheese and the crumble on top. I just made a freaking coffee cake. And if I was going to do that, I should have just done the crunts or whatever that you always do. All right, so here's the moment of truth. I don't know. It's got a S-ton of crumble on it. It's not bad.
It's not. It's no Entenmann's cream-filled cheesecake. Coffee cake.
You know what I will say? Just to give myself a little bit of props, it is quite moist for people that love that word. But can you really go wrong with like cinnamon and sugar? I mean, I smushed this crumble down on it. So, very disappointed. Did you ever go to your bread place?
I did not go. I had such a busy day yesterday. I was running from karate to play practice. It was a fail. Yeah.
It's actually not bad. It's just not cheese filled. I'm still on the hunt for my cheese filled coffee crumb cake. But I have plenty of it. I can ship it on over to you. But yeah, I don't know. Does anybody have any ideas of what I'm supposed to do with all of this topping?
You've got to try again. And maybe put some of the topping in the middle this time.
Well, so the yeast one, like you make the pastry, you roll it out, and damn it, I'm going to have to try it again. I really am. Oh, muffins are a good idea, Mindy. Muffins are a very good idea. I don't know. I'm just so upset at myself for not realizing that I did not have the cheese. There's no cream cheese. I'm so bummed. People are like, did you use salt instead of sugar? No. I had the baking soda. I had the baking powder. I had 2 eggs. I didn't put that in the picture, but I did have the eggs. I'm gonna have to try again. I don't know if I'm gonna do it this weekend though. And of course, the other bail that I did, let me bake in the middle of the friggin' day on one of the hottest days of the year.
Oh, it was hot.
And then I'm like
yesterday.
all hot and bothered.
Yeah.
And I love my husband. He looks at me and I'm explaining this whole thing to him. He's like, at what point did you realize you didn't have the cheese? I was like, I got all the way to dumping it in the damn pan before I was like, and then I'm like looking around, I'm like, well, where's the cheese? You didn't even friggin' buy any cheese. Why would you think there would be cheese? It was never even on your shopping list. I don't know. It was a big fail. I won't be making that mistake again. But I am still on the hunt with a cheese-filled coffee crumb cake. All right, let's keep it in the food realm though. Dogs. Pet owners, and I don't say pet owners. I love how they say pet owners heading out to enjoy a meal no longer have to leave their dogs at home. It's just dogs. Nobody wants to see your freaking cat or goldfish at the restaurant. Dogs can now accompany their owners for outdoor dining if state and local laws and the restaurant approves it. How many of you like going to restaurants where dogs are allowed outside?
Kim? I don't mind it. It's fine.
No?
I think you have to be a responsible dog owner. I remember my sister had a dog, a German Shepherd. His name was Buddy, and he was the nicest dog. But he came from a shelter and had some issues. So you had to be careful with him. You couldn't, and I think that my sister and her husband totally understood what you can and can't do with that dog, where to take him. But they left him with my mom for a weekend. And she took him down to like an outdoor coffee area, and she was having coffee, and this kid next to her dropped a fork and reached over the dog's face to grab the fork, and it was like one of those sudden movements kind of thing. And you were muted, and the dog nipped at the kid's arm as it to grab the fork. Understandable, but I mean, you can't have a dog in public like that who's going to nip at a kid.
No.
So, I mean, I think as long as your dog is cool, your dog is mellow, your dog can be around people, and you can anticipate stuff like that happening. Maybe position yourself, in the back away from kids. If you have a dog that's, that kind of like that, keep your dog on the leash right next to you. As long as you got it under control, I don't have a problem with the outdoor dog situation. No.
Yeah, I like it. I mentioned this on Station X. I love that. Color of the Wind. My cat does not want to go to your stupid restaurant or cat orange whistling. It would be really weird to see a bunch of cats at a restaurant.
Well, they have those cat cafes, don't they?
Yeah, where you can go hang out with cats.
Yeah.
Yeah, my sister-in-law took my daughter and her daughter because her daughter loves cats. I married into like a cat kind of family. Like my sister-in-laws love cats. I am not a cat person. Maybe if I got my own cat, which I'm not going to do, but because I wasn't a dog person either till I got my Snuggy Buggy boy. So I don't know. But there's a restaurant called Lazy Dog that I gave big props to that had the deep fried deviled eggs. Oh, they're so good. They're opening up a new restaurant in San Jose. It's in the Almaden Plaza. I'm pointing like it's right behind me. It should be open soon. They're almost done. I keep watching the building, and they allow dogs. I would assume it makes sense. Lazy dogs. They even have a dog menu. They'll bring out bowls of water and everything for your dogs, and it's really pretty cool. But when I bring my dog to the one, I think it's in Cupertino, there are some dogs where it's like, maybe your dog shouldn't be here, or your dog's barking. I don't mind a dog barking, but it can't be like constantly barking. Just a bark here and there, it's fine. But
if your dog isn't well behaved, then you can't bring it to the cafe.
Yeah,
it has to be the right kind of
first
dog.
Time. Yeah,
it has to be mellow. Yeah, I was at a restaurant, kind of a fancy restaurant in Marin one time. We were coming back from somewhere and stopped at like Il Fornaio or some type of outside, and they had an outside area. And this lady had her little dog, and it was a yippy yappy little dog.
Ooh, okay.
Like it wasn't a little dog that just was chill and laid down and, had a little water or little scraps of food and hung out. It barked the entire time. And we ended up moving inside on a really nice day just to get away from the noise because we couldn't even talk, my mom and I, because of this dog, like bark, 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 bark. I just again, it has to be the right place, the right animal.
Yeah. And you also don't want to abuse it. Like if your dog, and I'm not going to compare animals to kids, but if your kid's having a temper tantrum, what do you do? You remove the child from said situation instead of torturing everybody.
Right.
Unless you're, of course, on an airplane, and then what happens there. But yeah, if you're in a restaurant, your kid's like misbehaving, take them outside. Yeah. Have a conversation, calm them down, and bring them back in. The same thing with dogs. Like, you can't let your dog bark just because you're too lazy to get your butt up.
No.
Yeah, lazy dog. They have these TV dinners, not to do a free ad for them, but Lazy Dog, if you have them in there, they do these TV dinners, traditional. They make it look like a TV dinner. I think they have like fried chicken and they have all different types of stuff. Lee says also makes a pretty good chicken pot pie, even frozen for $10. So yeah, you can go there and just pick up the food. It's really cool. But I like to go there, honestly, for their deep fried deviled eggs. It is
where?
It's called the Lazy Dog. Yeah. And they have deep fried deviled eggs where the white
sounds amazing.
It is so good. The white is covered in panko and fried. And then after it's fried, they put the yolk on top, and then they put on top candied bacon. Oh my God. And my mouth is watering. I can't wait till I'm going to gain 20 pounds just by going over there all the time. And
wow.
Yeah, they're really, really, that's what got me. I went there randomly with my husband.
Yeah.
Because he picks up whiskey in that area because he's part of a whiskey bourbon club. And he's like, let's try this place. And we've been fans ever since. They're so freaking good. And yeah, they allow dogs, and they have a great menu. They have like a hamburger. They serve rice with it. It's pretty decent. I think it's like $5 or something like that. And, then it kind of keeps your dog all happy while you're enjoying sometimes, which can be a very expensive meal. Okay, let's do one more food story. And you guys tell me, should you just not trust people to do the right things? So there is this, in the town of Ellsworth, Maine, there is this place called Momo's Cheesecake. Apparently, it has the honor of being the state's best cheesecake. They have best cheesecake, best fudge.
Okay.
But it's one of the few businesses left that reportedly uses the honor system. So you could go anytime, day or night. You can walk into Momo's, grab what you need, and either leave cash in the box or you could pay through Venmo. Now, apparently, they've used this system since they opened 7 years ago. It's worked out fine. But a recent rash of thefts has owners wondering if it should continue. So the owner says the newly installed cameras caught people stealing in broad daylight, including one woman caught walking out with 2 large bundles of fudge, didn't leave any money, holding her wallet in plain sight. Hours later, another young man took it a step further. He had 3 slices of cheesecake up on the table, walked over to the money box, put 1 bill in, went back to the cakes, and then backed up, opened the box, and grabbed a bunch of change. Then grabbed his cake, and as he was walking out, the husband of the owner was walking in, and he ran away. And so they don't know if they should keep this going. Now, what do you guys think? On one hand, I love the idea of the honor system. Sometimes it really pays off. Like, people are like, oh, this is great. I'm going to give you $20, even though it's only worth 5, right?
Right.
And sometimes people pay for, exactly how much it is. But is this just like, you should know how people are? You know that people are going to ruin it. You know that this is why we can't have nice things, as Taylor Swift always says. I mean, it's just not the world we live in anymore to do that. The husband says, quote, to me, it's incredible how these people can be so disrespectful to somebody trying to make a good living. It's sad, especially for these small towns where everybody knows everybody. It's very sad.
It's why we can't have nice things.
Yep.
A couple people ruin it for everyone. What it was a nice community thing. It was an interesting way to just be trustworthy and kind of a cool place. Now, nothing. Now they have to, put everything under plexiglass and lock it all down.
Yeah, so the owner says she's determined to keep the honor system in place, but she has a message for those that took advantage. She says they know who they are, they know they did wrong, and I'm sure they've seen the Facebook posts. If they need food, we'll leave it for them. If they need money, they need help with something, we'll give it to them. We're always doing for people. Just don't steal from us or anybody else. Yeah. I mean, my heart breaks when I read that, because I just like, these people want to do good. They're trying to create the world that you wish you lived in, and you could live in it. if you weren't a butthead about it and you weren't a thief and you weren't just always trying to get over on people. I had mentioned, speaking of food and dogs, there's a house not too far from me. Really cute house. Has one of those, share neighborhood libraries on the thing.
Yeah.
But they also have stuff for dogs. So they have a little basket where you open the door and there's dog treats. They leave poop bags and all sorts of things.
That's really cute.
It's really cute. And Nugget, actually, he stops and he's like sniffing this box.
He knows. He's
like, what's in there? And so I gave him one. And the sad part was the minute I gave one to Nugget, I was like, God, I'm surprised somebody hasn't come here and stolen all the treats.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't, you know what I mean? But I'm sad that that's where my mind goes. It's just that you just hear so many stories of people taking advantage of the system. But I love the fact that it's not. They just load it up with treats, little dog bones. And if you want one for your dog, clean up the mess. And there you go. And it was just, that's the world that we want to live in. But it requires not just the person that puts out said treats or the honor system restaurant, but us to kind of work within that system as well. Be good. Don't be selfish and steal things from people. It's just like, God, to kind of sound Pollyanna-ish. I mean, can't we just make the world a better place, right? Yeah. You want to live in a good place? Be a good person. It's really, really not that hard. Okay, Kim's going to do some news. Now for something completely different. Kim, do you know the name Steven Crowder?
It's familiar, but I don't know. I can't place it.
Okay. Do you know this meme right here? It's like a guy sitting there with a coffee cup, and sometimes people will change that sign and it'll say, da-da-da-da-da, change my mind. It's a meme that's been around for a long time. Well, he's the one that started it. He's an American Canadian kind of conservative commentator, satirist, kind of an ass. Well, he's found himself in the news, and it's sad. He's going through a divorce, and a video has been leaked showing. And I want you guys to tell me, the reason why I want to talk about this is, when we talk about women, when we talk about our rights, when we talk about our roles, right? You can run your household and have whatever relationship with your husband or spouse or whatever that you want to, okay? But his relationship and what he thinks the woman's role is in the household has gone viral. A video has been leaked. It was a Ring video. Between him and his then pregnant with twins wife. And so I'll play you a little bit of the video. And then the thing that hurts me even more is, and I'm sorry, I have the worst habit of saying kind all the time. The worst part is Candace Owens, who I can't stand. I just can't stand the woman. I actually agree with her. But there's a huge caveat. I'm going to play you also what she said in response to the Crowder video. And I feel like you can replace his name with somebody else's, and then she'll completely disagree with it. So we'll talk about that. And I want to get into a little bit about women and husbands' roles in the household. And should Steven Crowder be ashamed of this video coming out? I mean, there's certain things that are obvious, but he has responded to the video and it coming out and the divorce in quite a unique way. And people are pointing out something he's focused on as he lives in Texas and having to do with marriage and divorce. So that's all coming up. Plus, to end the show, it is Friday. And as always, we have Tim Sika here to talk about a bunch of movies coming out, including one that I'm really excited to see that has to do with a woman who's had her books banned in the past, Judy Blume. But please click that thumbs up button before we go to Kim's news. It really helps us all out. And all that's coming up next.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
Good afternoon to you here on the Nikki Medoro Show. Let's talk about the debt ceiling. Why don't we? Lawmakers have a bit more time, they say, to come to an agreement on raising the debt ceiling and avoiding a default. A new report released by Goldman Sachs and Oxford Economics says a sudden acceleration in tax inflows has reduced the likelihood that the Treasury Department could default on the nation's debt as soon as June. The report says the Treasury should be able to continue to pay the nation's bills until the end of July now, without an increase. Democrats and Republicans are at odds over legislation to raise the borrowing limit, but now it looks like the deadline is kind of wiggling around a little bit on all that. There's an oil tanker that was on its way to Houston, and it has been seized by the Iranian Navy. What? Yes, the Iran military saying the tanker sailed away from the scene after a crash with an Iranian vessel that killed 2 people and injured several crew members. That, though, is being disputed. In a statement, the U.S. Navy called Iran's actions contrary to international law and disruptive to regional security. But Iran seized this oil tanker anyway. It's not going to make it to Houston anytime soon. The state of California is banning the sale of gas-powered trucks by the year 2036. And it's limiting gas-powered big rigs, buses, and other large vehicles over the next few years as well. By 2035, gas-powered big rigs will be banned in California. The next year, 2036, sales of new gas-powered trucks will stop in the state. And by 2039, all buses and garbage trucks will have to be electric. In addition, there are new regulations on emissions for trains in California. This came out yesterday. The rules come after a vote from the California Air Resources Board. So it looks like we've got some more new regulations now regarding, what we're looking at on the roadways. Let's go to the Army, because there's a kind of a mistake underway, is what some are saying. Army pilots flagging gross mismanagement of their service contracts, which could, they say, make them serve 3 years longer than they thought. The U.S. Army acknowledging the error during a roundtable. The head of Army personnel says they're working to fix it. The issue would result in hundreds of pilots, Army pilots, working for years that they didn't plan for, didn't enlist for. It could possibly affect their own life plans, including marriage and civilian employment opportunities as well. So that's kind of a big deal. The lawmakers in Kansas are overriding Democratic Governor Laura Kelly's veto of one of the most far-reaching so-called bathroom bills in the nation. Take down the pilot picture for this one, because what it says is the state law would now define a man and woman by their sex organs at birth and use that to determine who can enter which bathrooms. Looks like I'm frozen in time yet again. My apologies. Domestic violence shelters, rape crisis centers, jails, and prisons, all determined by the sex organs that you are born with, apparently. But again, Republican lawmakers in Kansas overriding the Democratic governor's veto of this law. So it looks like they're going to put it into place anyway. There's some fear and some panic after a person shot a woman at a San Francisco store. This was a situation that happened Thursday on Market Street. One person was detained, but now we have some more information today coming in about this shooting. ABC7 says it was a private security guard that is now being charged in this deadly San Francisco Walgreens shooting. The security guard has been arrested after this Thursday night incident happened at about 6:30 p.m., 4th and Market Streets in San Francisco. Police get there. They find this 24-year-old woman suffering from gunshot wounds. She was taken to the hospital but didn't survive. Police are now saying that a theft occurred at that Walgreens. The alleged suspect in the shooting was the on-duty private security guard, 33-year-old Michael Earl Wayne Anthony, who's now booked into the San Francisco County Jail on a homicide charge. One woman at the checkout register, when she heard 2 shots, saw the woman collapse. It's a situation where it's unclear, did the woman steal something and the security guard opened fire? We'll still wait for some more information on this, but this is going to be, I think, probably a pretty big story out of the Bay Area. Lastly, music lovers' chances to vote for the newest members of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame today. This is the last day. This year's nominees include George Michael, Cyndi Lauper, Iron Maiden, Warren Zevon, The Spinners, Willie Nelson, and Kate Bush. The final list of inductees will be announced sometime next month. And again, the chance to vote for the newest members of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the last chance is today. I'm Kim McAllister on the Nikki Medoro Show.
All right, thank you for joining us for the second half of the Nikki Medoro Show. Please click the thumbs up button to show your support. We love having you here and always appreciate all the support. The super chat is live. It's a way for you guys to donate live to the show. William's already given $20, and so is Full of Joy has given us a $20 super sticker. So
nice.
Please join our community, donate to the super chat, or even better, please become a Medorable and join our monthly Patreon subscribers. Just go to thenikkimedoroshow.com, thenikkimedoroshow.com, and you'll find links to everything, all the ways to reach us, email, PayPal, merchandise. It's all there at thenikkimedoroshow.com. Okay, Kim. So I know you don't know too much about the meme, and I didn't even know that the meme started with this guy and that he was a conservative commentator. So Steven Crowder is his name. This is him. Now, you may have seen this picture, and the white sign has been superimposed. They'll use Photoshop and they'll change the sign, okay? But this is how it started. He went to this college, I believe it's in Texas, and said, "Male privilege is a myth, change my mind." And he was having conversations with people, and then it just kind of took off, okay? And so then he ends up getting his own show, and he's online. I'm sure he's on YouTube and what have you. And he's made a lot of money doing it. He's conservative. He doesn't make any qualms about it. I don't know much about him. I really don't. I'm not going to try to act like I'm a Steven Crowder expert. I could get a lot from that meme or that sign, right? Male privilege is a myth, change my mind about how he perceives things, right? I mean, I can deduce, as they say. Well, apparently he's been going over the past, I think, year or so through a pretty nasty divorce. And there was a video, ring footage that was released yesterday by Yashar Ali on his Substack. He's a journalist, Yashar Ali is. And it's basically showing the kind of relationship Crowder had with his then pregnant wife. Now, she left him after having, and very quickly after, having twins. So imagine how bad things have to be to be like, you know what? I know that I could use an extra set of hands, but I'm done with these hands.
At a time when you need all the help you can get, you're like, sayonara,
like,
sucker.
I am out. I'm out. So I'm going to play you this video. And as you watch it, on one hand, you know, people are allowed to argue with their spouses. I don't want to just completely say, you know, we're taking this one moment out of context, and that's why I want to play it for you to deduce your own. But what he is saying to her and what she is saying to him, and just what they're trying to convey to each other when it comes to the roles within the household and kind of how he feels and what he thinks her role should be. Okay, so let me bring up the video, and you guys can totally weigh in, and maybe you don't see it the way that I do. And maybe you agree with these types of, and I'm going to call them traditional, even though I think that word is overused. But here again, this is a ring video. Obviously, the couple, Steven Crowder and his wife, Hillary, were still married at the time. And just to kind of set it up, it appears that she is trying to leave the house and he just doesn't want her to.
Because I drew a boundary. No, you just did it. I drew a boundary of abusive and cruel. You were not taking the car. Because if you refuse to do wifely things, then I will go pick up the groceries.
There's no groceries. I do have
steaks, wood pellets, my grill. I know it's an unreasonable request, but I'll go do it. How about you first? Hillary, how do you respect the man? Yes, other than man, you see love of that. No. How did the man? No, you're not taking the car.
Stephen,
You're not taking the car.
Stephen,
You are not.
then I will ask someone to pick you up. Would you like me to ask?
Oh, that's right.
It's not correct, Stephen.
Get an Uber.
Okay, Stephen, I can't.
Feeling some constraints?
Stephen.
Like I can't
Stephen.
go. Listen to me. Listen to me. You want to walk out right now? Listen to me. I can't go to the gym. I can't go to my parents. I can't call my friends. I can't go. I can't be home. You're gonna take the car and leave me here. Hillary, just think of how boxing just made me.
What do you need me to pick up? I'll get it. I'll be back when I'm back.
No, that doesn't work either. You'll be back when you're back. That doesn't work either.
Stephen,
Do you understand the difference between my life being set to the second and you going, I'll be back when I'm back?
Stephen.
The only way out of this is discipline and respect.
I'm just going to stop it right there. The only way out of this is discipline and respect. And I apologize for those that are listening to the podcast and can't hear it. There's subtitles, so if you're watching the show, you can get it. But basically, and mind you, she is really pregnant with twins. And apparently he wants her
go to the store.
He wants her to, I guess, do something with the dog and the dog medicine. And she has concerns that handling said medicine or handling something to do with the animals is dangerous. She doesn't want to do it. He's like, get gloves and put it on. And it kind of goes on like this. I wanted to play this. This is what I wanted to. Because her response to him is something I feel like, and again, I don't know these people, I'm just inferring, is something she tells herself or they've gone through therapy or something like this.
I'm not going to get you anymore. I'm going to go. I'll text me what you need. I'll get you what you need. I love you. I'm committed to you.
Are you committed enough to do those things?
I'm not going to.
Are you committed enough to do those things? You're not committed to anything. You're not committed to anything. You just said I love you. I'm committed to it. Walk the dogs, put on some gloves. Walk the dogs, put on some gloves. Are you committed enough to do those things? Are you committed enough to do those things? Are you committed enough to do those things?
So, and it just goes on like that. Like he wants her, and basically, in a nutshell, he wants her to do what he wants her to do now. And that's it. And she keeps saying, I'm not going to engage. I love you. I'm committed to you, which to me just sounds like something she's been telling herself over and over and over again. And so, okay. So you're thinking, okay, why is this going viral? And it's because he is really trying to downplay the whole entire thing. And I would say the same. I mean, I would say that if my divorce was being publicized, I would definitely want to kind of tamp it down just a bit, right? I would want to make sure that it doesn't really come out. But he is taking the stance that shocks me. And it's in response to the fact that she can even get a divorce from him. He's very upset that she is allowed to leave him. And God,
yes, if you act like an a-hole, we can walk out, right?
And he doesn't like it, Kim.
So everyone has their moments, right? I mean, there's bad moments in every relationship. There's moments where I've had my moments. My husband's had his moments. You can choose to be committed, but when someone says, you do your wifely do, like he's just being unreasonable. If that's how he acts all the time, whoo.
And it's just, and now he's accusing people like Candace Owens of extortion, of talk. He's like, I don't want to talk about my divorce because this is, these are my kids, which again, I actually agree with. Is this it? I'm wondering if this is it. Hold on. Let me just play this for you because I think this might be where he talks about the divorce. Here we go.
I have been living with a proverbial boot on my neck for going on years now. Since 2021, I've been living through what has increasingly been a horrendous divorce. Now, let me say on the outset, to be clear,
listen to this.
There's no infidelity, any kind of physical abuse at all on either side. And no, this was not my choice. My then wife decided that she didn't want to be married anymore.
Big surprise.
Texas, that is completely permitted.
In the state of Texas, that's completely permitted. That because my wife wants a divorce, she gets one. Listen more.
It's been the most heartbreaking experience of my life. What I consider to be my deepest personal failure. And just so you know, my opinions on parenting and families have not changed. I've always believed that children need a mom and a dad, that divorce is horrible. And I still believe that children need a mom and a dad and that divorce is horrible. But in today's legal system, my beliefs don't matter. In Texas, divorce is permitted when one party wants it, period.
Yeah, man. If I don't want to live with you anymore and be married to you, yes, I can leave.
It's not a hostage situation, okay?
Yes, it's insane.
That's really funny.
Insane. Yeah.
Did he think like once you got married, like you could just treat somebody at the worst possible because they had to stay for the rest of their life? That's it?
Apparently. And so
no.
So people are talking about this, but again, as the story is coming out, what happens? People come out of the woodwork with different stories of their own. And this, I think, is why Crowder is also very upset. And I hate her. I shouldn't say hate. That's such a strong word. I don't know the woman. I cannot stand Candace Owens. I think she's totally disingenuous. I think that a lot of the crap that she says is just for clicks and money and what have you. And if she does believe it 100% with all of her being, I completely disagree with everything. Okay. Except this. So here she is commenting on Steven Crowder.
So a bit of breaking news that just happened. And before we get to it, I just want to back up and tell you why we are discussing this breaking news, because it's occurred to me that there are some people out there who believe that to be a conservative, what it means is that we become tribal and we defend other conservatives even when they do things that are wrong, that we don't discuss things that are horrible on our own side because we need to just make sure that we score wins in other ways. And that is wrong. So that to me is the exact opposite of why I have this platform. I am not tribal. I want to expose things when they are bad on the left, and I will also expose things when they are bad on the right. Obviously, I have been interested in the Steven Crowder saga pertaining to his divorce because he literally inserted me into his divorce a couple of days ago. And his wife and family are now speaking out regarding that video in which he told people publicly that his wife was leaving him. You remember this. He chose wrong. And he essentially made it sound as if he did not want his marriage to end, but his wife simply wanted to leave. Well, she has responded by giving video, and I want to prep you. I want you to know this is horrific video. It is very difficult to watch. It's especially difficult to watch because in this footage, she is 8 months pregnant. And the video essentially reveals just how emotionally abusive he has been. And she is alleging that he has been emotionally abusive to her. And this video all but confirms it. So let's first get to the footage. I'm just going to allow you to watch it in its entirety.
Well, and then we already watched that. But what she was saying about calling people out on the right and the left was a bit rich. It was a bit rich because for her to say that, this tribalism, it's easy to take the stance against Crowder over something like this, right? But it's difficult to call out, I don't know. And I don't want to do the whataboutism. I know it sucks. But how many people had said the same thing about Trump? Here's one more clip from Candace Owens that really puts a fine point on what I'm talking about. Now, take Crowder's name out and put Trump's name in.
Well, again, going back to the pattern, it's not just the Daily Wire. It's David Landau. It's Sven the Computer. It's Jared Monroe, formerly known as Not Gay Jared, people that are locked into NDAs and are not allowed to speak about the abuse that they endured by Steven Crowder. It's Owen Benjamin. It's now his wife. Do you believe that all of these various different parties, the majority of them who have never spoken to each other, I've never spoken to Sven the Computer. I've never spoken to David Landau. I've never spoken to Hillary Crowder. I've never spoken to Owen Benjamin. Do you believe that all of these people, as is the paranoid narrative that Steven Crowder is presenting, are working maybe in collusion with big tech to try to destroy him? Or do you believe it's plausible that Steven Crowder is just a monster? I personally believe that he is a monster. And that is, by the way, Stephen, if you're watching, I'm not trying to extort you. I am just simply telling the truth.
So that's what a lot of us have been saying about other people on the right, i.e. former President Trump, right? All of these people come out of the woodwork. Oh, he's a cheat. He didn't pay his bills. He assaulted me. He, fill in the blank of whatever crime. No, it's a witch hunt. You guys have Trump derangement syndrome, or it's friggin' true. Yeah. So it blew my mind. Now Crowder, I think let it work itself through. I really do agree with him on the aspect of, there's children involved, although these kids are infants. I don't know if they have any older children. But again, he doesn't seem like the type of human being I would particularly want to be married to or have a life with. But Candace Owens was right in that last video. I just wish that she really could see how many other people fit into that narrative that she just laid out for Steven Crowder, including former President Trump. It is not a witch hunt with him or any other conservative person. Let's go from Bill O'Reilly to Tucker Carlson. It's actually that they are who people say they are. It's that. It's not political. It's not because, we just have this derangement syndrome. It's because when person after person tells story after story about particular people, you come to believe that it's true because it is. So, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen to that guy. I'm glad that she got away. She's getting divorced. But again, that whole idea.
Got away is right.
I mean, in the state of Texas, it's legal to divorce people. Yes, man. I mean,
Did you not realize that when you got married, that divorce was always an option? If she decides that you're a jerk, she can check out anytime.
Yeah, exactly. It's really hard to understand. And who knows? Some people I see in the comments didn't she know who she married? Maybe perhaps, but sometimes, and I'm not saying all the time, who knows who he was and what his public persona was when they got married.
Yeah.
Right? You can marry somebody and then all of a sudden they get a little bit of attention. Their show takes off. Maybe they have to feed this narrative because it works for them. Maybe they actually do believe the nonsense. And then all of a sudden the guy that you thought you were marrying has turned into this misogynistic a-hole who thinks he owns your ass. And you're like, you know what? I might have just given birth to twins, but peace, I'm out. And apparently, and I saw it also in the comments, he decided to have surgery. He has a sunken chest. I guess it's a deformity. It actually is serious, but he decided to have the surgery to fix it, something that I'm assuming he's had his whole entire life, literally right when she gave birth or around the time she was giving birth. So he could help her.
Did you say she had twins?
Twins. Yeah. So that's the guy. Yeah. Oh, I did. Yeah. They haven't been married long. They had only dated or knew each other for a year or so, and they got married. So, maybe she didn't know who she was marrying and just didn't think that it was going to be as bad as she thought it was going to be.
He's a good-looking guy until he opens his mouth.
Well,
and then you're like, yeah, no thanks.
No. I don't think. I mean, I'm not going to judge. It's whatever. But now knowing what I know about him. It just seems, and again, I worry that a lot of these people don't actually believe the nonsense. I mean, this guy, obviously, he didn't know that this video was going to go viral. So what he was saying, he obviously truly believed in. But I do believe there's a large portion of these commentators who don't believe it and just say it because they know they're going to get a lot of followers. Yeah. They know that if they spew this stuff, it's going to get them a lot of clicks. And that's the thing that really pisses me off. It's like, you don't even believe it. You don't even believe it. So that's Steven Crowder. I feel for Hillary and her kids, and I hope that it becomes amicable. But I don't know if it necessarily will.
Oh, no. Can you imagine having an amicable relationship with that? Imagine that that's the father of your twins, and now you're tied to him for the rest of your life. Imagine how difficult he's going to make visitations and holidays. What a nightmare. I feel bad for that lady. I mean, you made the mistake of marrying him, but now it's like forever she'll have to handle that. Ugh.
Yeah, John's right. So now we know that Crowder's authentic. He's an a-hole in real life and on his show. I've never watched his show. Again, my husband pointed it out to me, and I don't know if I think he just knows it because it's like on guide channels or whatever. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. Oh, and NSTARS clarified they were married in 2012. I don't know. I just know that they didn't date long before they were married. So, maybe get to know somebody a little bit longer before you decide to make a lifelong commitment and end up having, twins with them. But people make mistakes all of the time. And yes, Steven Crowder, women are legally allowed to divorce your husband.
Oh, I'm sorry, because you're the man. You thought that you could, make all the choices on that. You thought, the little lady had to stay around no matter what.
But honestly, Kim, it hasn't been that long since women were able to get a credit card without their husband's permission, right? Open a bank account.
Was that 60s and 70s even?
70s. I mean, that's insane. So think about that. There are men that grew up in households where that was not allowed, living in 2023. Yeah. So it's not too far of a stretch to think that men still think that way. Why shouldn't they have to ask me? Why shouldn't they need my permission? It's the problem with the world these days. Women have too much power, too much control, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So, sorry. Welcome to the new age. We just need to keep this power. Okay. Tim Sika is coming up. I did have this other, maybe I'll end the show with a nice palate cleanser of this great video that I saw, if we have time. If not, we'll do it next week. But Tim Sika is going to come up. He's going to talk about all sorts of movies that we need to watch, including one that I'm really, really looking forward to, the one with Judy Blume. I'm assuming he's seen it, so I hope it's really good.
I read the book. Are You There, Queen Margaret, right? I mean, who didn't read that?
Who didn't read that?
That's the one where she talks about getting her period and kind of coming of age.
Oh, that was the coming of age. Absolutely.
I was going through at the same time as I was reading the book. Yes.
Exactly.
That's a kind of a big part of my,
growing
childhood.
up.
I remember that.
Yeah. Judy Blume. Judy Blume books were the hit. And so I hope the movie can live up to it, because I know I personally want to take my daughter to go watch it. I'll have to get the review from Tim, so we'll see.
Who wrote the books like Fudge? Remember Fudge and all those Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing? All those books. Those are so good.
Yeah. I loved, there was a bunch of them. Amelia. Was it the Amelia books too? Books. Hold on.
Amelia Bedelia.
Yeah. Amelia. Yeah. So Judy Blume was the Fudge box set, but was it Amelia? Was it that? Is that her too?
Oh, Judy Blume was Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing.
Yeah. Judy Blume was that. But remember Amelia? Am I getting it wrong? But anyways, the movie's coming out. So is it going to live up to the books? The books are always better. We know that. So we'll get Tim Sika's take on that after Kim's news on the Nikki Medoro Show.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
I'm going to make it a quick news because I can't wait to get to Tim Sika, but let's talk about former President Trump. He is now suggesting he could sign legislation banning abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy if he is elected president in 2024. That just becomes the latest reason for that not to happen. Am I right? In an interview with WMUR in New Hampshire, former President Trump was asked if he'd sign the federal abortion ban proposed by South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham. Trump said he would look at it and is considering a lot of different options. He said he would get something done on abortion where everyone is going to be very satisfied. Except me. I'm not going to be very satisfied with whatever you come up with. Trump faced backlash from anti-abortion groups recently for his position that abortion restrictions should be left up to individual states and not the federal government. If you've been following this story, this is a cheer coach out of Texas. Was cheer coach at a Texas college featured in a Netflix series as being sued by a former cheerleader. The lawsuit claims coach Monica Aldama, Navarro College, and 2 administrators failed to take action against a person who sexually assaulted her. The former cheerleader alleges Aldama told her she could have any athletic opportunities she wanted if she didn't report that assault. Nike is announcing its 3rd basketball player to sign a lifetime endorsement deal. And there he is. Yeah, Phoenix Suns power forward Kevin Durant, but I had to put him in a Golden State jersey. Joins now Michael Jordan and LeBron James as the only NBA players to be signed to such a deal, a lifetime Nike deal. Durant signed his first endorsement deal with Nike during his rookie season in 2007, and now he's hooked up with them for life, kind of like a marriage you can't get out of, right? Two teams, speaking of sports, have a chance to clinch their first round NBA series at home tonight. The Golden State Warriors have overcome a 2-game deficit to take a 3-2 lead over the Sacramento Kings. The 7th-seeded Los Angeles Lakers will try to eliminate the 2nd-seeded Memphis Grizzlies in Game 6 of their series. I know we're, kind of Bay Area centric, a lot of Warriors fans. I can't remember the last time the Kings won anything.
It's been so long,
right?
19 years or something like that. It's been insanely long.
Would it be like if the Warriors lost, knock on wood they don't, but if they did, would it be so bad to have the Kings finally get a shot?
Well, there's a lot more basketball to go, even if they do beat the Kings, or do beat the Warriors. But yeah, it's a great story. The whole the beam, the fact that one of the Warriors' assistant coaches is now the coach of the Kings. Mm-hmm. So there's this whole, we love movie. Like we're about to talk movies with Tim Sika.
The movie
you
stories.
Can see the movie. Yeah, you can totally see the movie being written about it. So,
but it's interesting, and Steph Curry says, "Be in your seat at Chase at 5:00 tonight."
Oh yeah, I know somebody that's going to be at that game.
Yeah, it's an early start.
Like we're leaving early. Yeah,
you got to be there and you got to be ready. I feel like when he sets his mind to something, he makes it happen. Even like if everyone else on the team is having an off night and he wants it, he somehow finds the stamina and the emotional power to make it so.
Yeah.
Steph Curry's a powerhouse.
Yeah. He's awesome.
The movie reviews are coming right up, so I'll just say I'm Kim McAllister on the Nikki Medoro Show.
There we go. All right, and let's take Steph away and replace Steph with our friend Tim Sika, who joins us now with some movie reviews. And Tim, before we brought you on, Kim and I were expressing our excitement about the Judy Blume movie coming out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I figured you would be. Yes,
I'm very excited, but I did not realize that there's a documentary also being released at the same time.
Yeah, well, this is like Judy Blume week on the Nikki Medoro Show. Yeah, for Judy Blume stuff. Yeah, well, if you love author Judy Blume and you know who she is and you've read her books, you will love this documentary, Judy Blume Forever. If you've never heard of Judy Blume or have never read any of her books, I think you will all in all likelihood love this documentary too. It's called Judy Blume Forever. And the forever, well, of course, Judy Blume Forever, perfect title for this movie. But the forever also refers to her infamous 1975 sexually explicit young adult novel dealing with teenage sexuality. The one Judy Blume book, one of her fans in this movie says that nobody was allowed to read. But anyway, this is Judy Blume's story. Her struggle to become a professional writer. She was rejected. I didn't know that much about her personal life, but she was rejected more times than you can imagine, with established people in the literary field telling her outright that she had no talent and no business being a writer. It documents her slow ascent to establishing herself as what someone in the movie referred to as the most censored writer of children's books, to an author of adult novels, and I think as of now has sold more than 80 million books. 20 of those, and 20 of those were coming of age novels for prepubescent girls and boys that dealt with subjects that nobody ever really wanted to talk about, like bullying, masturbation, and sex, which was the topic of many of her novels. Yeah, she was censored too, to a great degree, which I don't remember. It's funny, I knew who Judy Blume was, but I attribute it to the fact that I never really got to read any of her novels because I went to Catholic school almost all the way up until
I went to Catholic
college.
school too, and I was well aware of who Judy Blume was, but then I was kind of a bad kid, so.
yeah. Well, I think for some reason, I don't know. We were focused on other things, Shakespeare and stuff. But anyway, I didn't realize how her books were banned, according to this movie in the 80s, alongside the conservatism of the Reagan years. In a very short period, she received something like 700 death threats, but she never ever wavered in her belief that a book cannot harm a child, and in her own personal generosity and giving people the permission to tell their own stories. One of the things that's so great about this documentary is the letters that kids wrote to her, some of whom are on camera here as adults, telling the world, what Judy Blume meant to them, people like Molly Ringwald and Samantha Bee, and what she did for them, because she always was truthful and always honest. And basically through her novel, she gave these confused kids permission to speak their feelings that they couldn't to other adults. And a lot of the times, even to their parents. I mean, this movie deserves to be seen, if for nothing else, for some of the letters that Judy Blume got from confused and frightened kids, which eventually led her to seek therapy because she was so moved by most of them, and she wanted to be able to do more for these kids. But the therapist basically told her, look, you can't save these kids, but you can support them, which she did. Anyway, I love Judy Blume, and
I'm gonna watch this. Yeah,
it's so good. She comes across as this warm, really beautiful soul. Not only a great artist, but and she was always fighting the good fight for First Amendment rights, which are now, as they were in the Reagan years, under more attack than ever. Book banning has become a big thing again.
Oh, yeah.
So this documentary has special resonance because of that. Anyway, Judy Blume forever.
All right. Now, let me ask you this, Tim. If you don't know who Judy Blume is, for instance, should you watch this documentary after you watch the next movie we're going to talk about, or before?
Well, I suppose either way, actually.
Oh, it doesn't matter. Okay.
Yeah, because the movie that we're going to talk about is just one movie. I think there was a TV film on CBS in 1978 that was based on Forever. And then I think her 1981 novel Tiger Eyes, about the loss of her dad, that was made into a film in 2012 too. That one was written and produced by her son, and directed, I think, by her son. But anyway, no, I don't think it matters either way, but I think it would make a great double bill with this.
Have a Judy Blume day.
Judy Blume. Really, if you want an uplift, man, just check in with Judy Blume.
All right. So is the movie going to live up to the book, though?
Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Is that the one you're talking about?
That's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, the famous 1970 Judy Blume novel that made popular among prepubescent girls, The Chant. You guys, you want to do the chant? You want to do the chant?
What's the chant?
We must increase
our bus.
Yes,
we must.
I was like, what? Oh, yes.
Well, that's the movie, and it's very, very funny. Anyway, it took 53 years to make this into a movie, but I think it was because she wanted to wait. She wanted to find the right people. I think she wanted to feel comfortable with the people that she was going to entrust to be faithful to the novel. And I've told you this, Nikki and Kim, before, that when I go to a movie, I always take notes when I watch a movie, and what that usually means is one of two things. And I didn't take any notes to this movie, that there's nothing really there in the movie to take note of, and the movie's not so good. Or in very rare cases like this one, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, where I took hardly any notes. It means the movie's so good that it simply speaks for itself. And that was the case with this one. It's the story of a 12-year-old girl. Her name is Margaret. She's played superlatively in this movie by this young actress named Abby Ryder Forston, who I never saw before. Anyway, the character's dealing with issues of puberty and changes in her body, like menstruation, and she's also questioning religion. Her father's Jewish and her mother's Christian, and so she's grappling with all of that. And I just want to say, just go see this movie, folks.
Oh, good.
If you're the parents of young girls or boys, sit with them and watch this movie. It's honest, it's truthful, like Judy Blume herself. It's poignant. And I would say it was worth the wait. Cast is great. Rachel McAdams plays her mom. I've always loved Rachel McAdams, but she's great as the mom. Kathy Bates plays Margaret's grandmother. She's awesome. The cast is perfect. The tone is perfect. It's a perfect movie. So, what's not to love here?
I'm
just
so excited.
See the movie, folks. Yeah.
Yay.
And if you're sharp, and if you know who Judy Blume looks like, you'll see her in the movie. She makes a very brief cameo.
Oh.
She's walking by in the park, and it's almost like, wait, was that you? Oh, that was Judy Blume. So that's really cool that she.
I love when they do that.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, now for something completely different. What about Sisu?
They never say the name. But I think it's Sisu.
Sisu, okay.
Yeah, the title. This is the thing. It's the title SISU. It's this Finnish word that can't be translated. They tell you this at the beginning of the movie. It's like this Finnish concept of stoicism and resilience and tenacity of purpose and bravery and grit, that type of thing. And it's supposed to be expressive of the Finnish national character. So anyway, keeping that in mind, this is an action gore-fest World War II drama about a gold prospector in Finland toward the end of the war, end of World War II. The Nazis are retreating Finland. They've adopted this scorched earth policy, right? Which means they destroy everything in their wake, and they kidnap, in this movie, this is how it starts, kidnap and hold hostage a number of female captives to rape along the way. And as the Nazis continue their retreat from Finland, they encounter this prospector and they want his gold. He's kind of, struck the mother lode. So they try to kill him, of course, and take the gold, knowing they're going to need it because they also know they're losing the war and probably will all be hanged for war crimes. But if they have this money, they'll be able to bargain for their life. So that's the plot. And the rest of the story is this prospector guy killing off the Nazis one by one, and in the most graphic fashions you can imagine. So it's kind of a hollow movie, but it's not pretentious. It is what it is. It doesn't pretend to be anything other than an action gore fest that takes supreme delight, right, in graphically killing Nazis. And I have to admit that I kind of felt really good watching the Nazis get theirs. But I don't know, think Mad Max, but with an agenda and maybe on steroids. But if this is your jam, you'll dig it. It's a lean and taut 90 minutes, so it doesn't go overboard. But boy, is it ever gross. I mean, it is gross. Anyway.
All right. Sisu, I think we think it's called. Okay. What about this movie, Carmen? I've not heard about this movie at all.
Yeah, well, this just it opens today, and it kind of snuck up on everybody. It's another movie that's difficult to describe, but one that actually works. At least it did for me. And I guess it's a kind of musical dance drama about this young woman who flees Mexico. Her mother's murdered there, so she crosses the U.S. border illegally. She's then rescued by a former Marine who is moonlighting one night as a border patrol guard, and he's played by Paul Mescal, who this year was nominated for the Best Actor Oscar for his performance in Aftersun. Anyway, he and the woman fall in love, and then they try to evade the authorities as they try to escape to LA to make a new life for themselves. And that plot description hardly does the film any justice, because what makes the story work is its concept, which is kind of surrealist, but not quite. It's like more magical realism or imaginative realism, where the story unfolds through this series of dances, which further the plot and comment on the action. They kind of come out of nowhere, and you're going, well, this is weird, but then you're going, oh, but it's kind of cool at the same time. And the soundtrack is punctuated by these voiceover chants, which are a kind of a takeoff on Bizet's opera, Carmen. Where selected French lyrics from that opera are lifted from the Bizet opera, and they're sung by a choir. So it's interestingly stylized. It admittedly takes a bit of getting used to. It took me about the first 35 minutes to acclimate to the movie style, but once I did, I was really hooked as to what was to follow. And there's something resonant and timely about the story. Immigration, obviously, is this story's like a lightning rod, but it's a female-centered narrative too, and it deals with family generations of women. And it's also about men who help women without abandoning their own masculinity. So it's very different. It's somewhat original. It's fanciful. It's very arresting, and it's a very memorable movie experience.
Oh, nice.
Maybe not for all tastes, but I liked it. I liked it a lot. So.
Perfect.
It's called Carmen. Yeah.
All right.
Opens in theaters.
And this last one, I thought maybe we talked about it, but maybe we didn't. Maybe I was just reading about it. Beau is Afraid.
Yeah, we forgot. And thank you for bringing it up again, because I have to get it off my chest.
Okay, good.
Again, there's really no way to describe this movie or what this movie really is, but I'm going to try. It's being marketed as this surreal Black comedy about this mild-mannered paranoid guy who goes on this journey to get home to his mother. And then, along the way, he has to confront his personal fears, which are many. I mean, the character is played by Joaquin Phoenix. His name is Beau, and he is afraid, hence the title, Beau is Afraid. It was written and directed by Ari Aster. I don't know if either of you two saw his other movies. He did a movie called Hereditary.
Oh,
with
yes.
Toni Collette. Yeah, I liked that movie a lot. Then he did a movie called Midsummer a year later, which I liked less. And this one, Beau is Afraid, which I liked even less than Midsummer. Oh. It's his most ambitious movie, maybe his most personal. And there's a lot in it that's really good once you're removed from it all. Certain things in retrospect stick out. Some of the images, the performances are striking, but it's 3 hours long.
Oh no!
It has a snail-like pace, and it pretty much, certainly in terms of the actual story, absolutely refuses to meet its audiences even halfway. It's a series of different Black comedy and dramatic encounters by this character Beau, which appear unrelated, and I guess it's up to the viewer to make sense of all these encounters. I can describe this movie, though. It's like getting inside the mind of another person's weird dream, and the movie is very much like a dream, in fact, and it's one of those dreams that you have that goes and when you're dreaming it goes from one incident to another, which make no sense, but do make a kind of sense while you're dreaming them. But if you try and recount that dream to another person, it makes no sense whatsoever, and it takes forever to tell it. So right now, and this could change, I will never, ever claim to even remotely know what any of Beau is Afraid is about or what it means. My best guess is that it's some sort of allegory about sex and death. Joaquin Phoenix, maybe, yeah. Well, I got to weigh in on something here. Joaquin Phoenix is absolutely brilliant in here. He delivers like
and he does these weird type of movies.
Yeah, he does. Well, he is weirder than ever, but it's so weird. His mother's played by Patti LuPone, who's this great musical Broadway star.
Oh, yeah.
They both seem to know exactly what this movie is about. They deliver their lines as if they certainly completely understand every single thing that they're saying and what this movie's about. But despite these monumental performances, despite this movie's attempts to subvert your expectations, which it does, but then it gets to be like it's subverting for the sake of subverting expectations. Despite that, despite the film's level of craft, which is impressive, despite its attempts at philosophizing, and despite its singular vision, because there is something to be said about the fact that a film like this can even be made today, despite all of that, I found it absolutely unendurable. It was three empty hours of cinematic, I don't know, what do the British say? Wanking. Yeah. And I mean that because on several levels, because there's a lot of sexual imagery in this film. I'm going to say this. There is even a giant talking penis in this movie. I mean, come on.
Well,
I wonder what Judy Blume would think.
Exactly.
You know?
That's a lot. I don't know necessarily if I have 3 hours to watch Joaquin Phoenix wanking in a movie. Well, not literally, but figuratively.
Yeah, I feel so cathartic for you two having let me just kind of pontificate my guts out. This movie made me crazy. It just really made me crazy.
I will not watch it, Calvin Wong. No, I will not. I will watch Judy Blume though. Thank you very much.
Oh, the Judy Blume movies are are oh God, they just
well,
made
I'm so
my week.
excited that you liked it because I was nervous, especially because when you grow up with something like a book like that, you want it to work, but then you're like, it's not going to work. So I'm glad.
Well, you have certain things in your mind, and you just hope that what you're seeing is on the screen is going to be faithful to what your memories of that you had when you were reading the novel. Oh yeah, no, but this even Judy Blume herself said. Yeah, she loves what they did. Well, she's going around saying that. So I hope I'm sure she means it. She's so honest, so direct. Yeah, so I believe her. And I it's gonna go right now. If I had to make a top 10 list, it would be in the top 5.
Oh,
it's really good. It's really, really
I'm
good.
so excited. Oh, Tim, that makes me so happy because I really want to go see it. I want to bring. Is it how kid appropriate is it? Which is funny to say given the Judy Blume books.
Yeah,
I would say, I would say it depends on the
preteen. Teen?
I would say definitely preteen. Oh yeah, I think it was. Okay, I think the story was made for preteen. Yeah.
My son, not my daughter. My daughter.
She died in 2020.
Who?
Judy Blume.
She died.
Well, yeah. Sure? Yeah. She
no.
She died.
Did?
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that right?
I don't think she died. No, she's not dead.
No, she's 85.
I'm sorry. You know what? My bad. I'm sorry.
I was like, wait, did she die?
It was her husband that died.
Her husband. Oh, yeah. Oh, and what a love story they had. Oh my, they were married for 40, I think 41, 42 years. No, really, the documentary. You have to see the documentary. You have to see that, and you have to see the feature film too. But the documentary.
I know what I'm doing this weekend. Jeez.
Yeah, and if you subscribe to Prime Video, it's part of your subscription, so it's free.
Yay,
well, it's not
that's
free.
what I like. Well, I have to pay for subscription, but I love it, Tim. Well, I'm so happy that those things worked out. Joaquin Phoenix can go kick rocks. I'm not watching that. I don't care how much wanking is going on. Tim Sika, thank you so much. We'll talk to you next Friday. Bye.
All right, talk to you next Friday. Bye.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
There she is. Very much alive. There you go. Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, she's dead?
No. I've killed her off. No, I haven't.
I'm like, how'd you do the documentary? Jesus. I was like, how did that work?
Actually, and it's funny because I was wondering, I was looking if she was still alive. And it says John M. Blume is the one who died on September 20th of 2020. Yeah.
All right. Well, she's alive. 85 though. So God bless her. You know what I mean? All right. Well, everybody click the thumbs up button. Go see the movies. Let me know what you think. I appreciate everybody reaching out as well through email. It warms my heart. We also go back through the comments. So if you are among the many that watch this on replay, send us some comments. We do go back and read them. Kim's really good about reading them as well. Thank you again to people that donated to our super chat. That's a way for you to donate to the show. And you could do that also even during the replay. William with $20, Full of Joy with $20.
That's so nice.
We really, really appreciate you guys so very much. Have a fabulous weekend. Please consider donating to the show or reaching out. All the links, very, very easy to find. Just go to our show's website, thenikkimedoroshow.com, thenikkimedoroshow.com. Have a fabulous weekend. Next week, I'm actually not quite sure of my schedule yet. So we will keep you posted. Follow me on Facebook, follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, here on YouTube. You'll get all of the details. And be safe. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. Miss Brown, like a beautiful blossom. You're all so the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.